Hello everyone and welcome to another Star Wars figure review. Next up for today we're going to be taking a look at a couple of vintage figures. The first one that I want to give you a look at is from Wave 6 of the vintage collection, and this is the last remaining figure that I had to pick up from this wave, and I was lucky enough to pick this one up from my local Forbidden Planet just the other day. And the figure in question is not that one. It's this one, the Dagobah landing Luke Skywalker figure from The Empire Strikes Back. And this is a really cool figure, and I will show you the figure before I get onto the packaging. Here he is, looking a little bit vibrant and a little bit illuminated, what with the orange jumpsuit that he's wearing. But this is a very cool figure, definitely one that I recommend picking up if you're a fan of Luke Skywalker and the original trilogy. Although if you're not the most diehard of collectors and you don't particularly have a need for every character in every outfit from every scene in every movie, then this is probably a figure that I'd skip on due to it being so similar to an earlier release of a Luke Skywalker figure that I'll compare this one to in a moment. So as I said, we're going to take a look at the packaging before we get onto the figure itself. This is your generic typical vintage card back with the Empire Strikes Back logo at the top and the image of Luke on the main background, obviously just after crashing the X-Wing on Dagobah. On the back you've got a still image of Luke from The Empire Strikes Back, as obviously this figure never saw a release on an original vintage card back in the 80s. You've also got the rest of the wave pictured along the bottom, which you can find reviews on all of those on my channel. And that's just about it for the packaging. So a very cool card back that this one comes on. Now the figure itself, as I said, this is probably one of those figures that you probably don't need if you're not the most diehard of collectors. I only picked this one up because I have two purposes for this figure, or two purposes for the two figures that I'm about to show you anyway. This Dagobah landing figure of Luke Skywalker now sits on my Empire Strikes Back shelf, while the figure that it's similar to, which is this one, the Saga Legends / Legacy Collection Snowspeeder Pilot Luke, is now dangling from the underbelly of my AT-AT Walker. So two very similar figures, and I'll get onto their differences in just a moment, but for the time being I'll try and let you point them out for yourself. I'll just remove the helmet to make that a little bit more obvious. While they are very similar, they're, as I said, two completely different figures from two completely different scenes in the film. But if you're one of those people that, as I said, for all intents and purposes, a Snowspeeder Luke is a Snowspeeder Luke, then I'd probably just stick with this figure if you've already picked this one up. But I think given the choice, I think I'd go with this one as it's the better figure in my opinion. As I said, there are a few differences with the two figures. Obviously the first one being the head sculpts are completely different. Whereas the Snowspeeder Luke Skywalker figure is wearing a sort of skull cap, almost sort of flight gear type attire on his head. The Dagobah landing Luke Skywalker figure is has an unwrapped head with a very awesome resemblance to Mark Hamill, I might add as well. Also the Snowspeeder Pilot Luke has gloves, whereas this one has his hands revealed. And the overall colour of the jumpsuits are quite different as well. This is a much more almost yellow type of orange, almost amber sort of colour, and this one is very orange indeed, and very shiny as well. Camera really doesn't do it any justice, but they both look great for different reasons. Another difference between the two figures is that with the Dagobah landing Luke Skywalker you have this holster that is attached to the side of the leg from the belt, whereas this Snowspeeder Pilot Luke doesn't have that accessory, and he does come included with a blaster, which is very similar to the one that we first saw with figures such as Dengar and the Bespin Fatigues Luke Skywalker from Wave 1 of the vintage collection. And the holster fits the blaster fits very nicely in the holster. Other accessories included with the figure include Luke's signature lightsaber with a very nice vibrant blue blade. There are two variants of this lightsaber that are available on the market at the moment. The first release of the Dagobah Luke figure came with a almost transparent blade, very similar to the lightsaber included with the Fiat X Search from the same wave, which has also been corrected but obviously the later releases of this one came with a much more, as I said, vibrant blue blade, which is a lot better in my opinion. On the subject of lightsabers, you've also got a unlit lightsaber hilt which can be attached to a hole on the belt. And as I said, my favourite aspect of this figure is the fact that he comes with an awesome head sculpt of Luke Skywalker. Another accessory, and the final one that is included, is obviously Luke Skywalker's pilot helmet, which is practically the same as the one included with the Snowspeeder pilot Luke, although it doesn't tend to fit as well over the head, as obviously the Snowspeeder Luke has the skull cap to accommodate it, whereas this figure it kind of just balances on the head and almost sits around the collar, and it just looks really awkward. But there's some fantastic detailing on the helmet, nice decals on the front, really nicely decorated. And then onto articulation, this guy is superb. Ball jointed neck, shoulders, elbows, swivel forearms, ball jointed torso, swivel hips, ball hinged knees and ankles. So really, you can't get much better than this. And he'll pretty much sit in any vehicle that you want. You know, if you've got the X-Wing, he'll sit in there. If you've got the Snowspeeder, he'll sit in there as well. Superb figure, and definitely one that I recommend. But as I said, if you're not the most anal of collectors and you don't really care about scene specific figures, and you've already got the Snowspeeder Luke from the previous lines, then I'll probably stick with that one for the time being. But if it's a choice between the two, then I'd go for this one personally, just because of the amount of accessories that are included. Although one plus side of the Snowspeeder Luke is the fact that it comes with the grappling hook gun that, as I said, can be attached to the attack walker. So I guess it's up to you at the end of the day what you really prefer. But I myself prefer the Dagobah landing Luke. Really awesome figure. So I hope you've enjoyed having a look at this guy. I'll be back with some more reviews soon. I've got another Luke Skywalker figure to show you in my next review, so stay tuned for that. And until next time, keep collecting, and may the Force be with you.